Well, hi, we're Sophia and Cody Marshall. We have been married a little bit over 16 years now.
Yeah, 16 amazing years.
Yeah. Well, they have been amazing, but they haven't all been amazing, especially those first couple of years when you're just newly married.
Yeah.
You know, we had some struggles that we had to work on, but it was at that time, actually, that we started putting boundaries into place in our marriage. And it was so good. So we really learned a lot through those struggles. And then we started talking one day and we're like, well, what if we put these boundaries in place before we started struggling on things? In fact, what if every marriage decided to do that? What would marriages look like today if every marriage decided to make that a priority? And so that's what we're here to talk to you about today, is putting healthy boundaries in place in your marriage. So Cody, tell us what a boundary is.
So yeah, what is a boundary? It's a line that marks the limits. It's what we decide we're comfortable with, and what we how we want to be treated. It's a sign of surrender. The Bible says we need to take up our cross and follow.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, I'm going to tell a quick story. We like to call this the Corvette Story. It took place a couple of years ago. It's kind of a funny story. Wasn't at the time, but now we can laugh about it, of course. We did learn a lot through this. So let me take you back to that day. So it was years ago. I was serving at our church throughout the week. It was something that I felt led to do. And I remember this day like it was yesterday. It was a Wednesday afternoon. And I was just getting ready to leave church, and I grabbed my purse, I took my phone out, and I realized, oh, I have 5 missed calls from this guy right here. And I was like, why is he calling me 5 times? Because he's supposed to be at work. So I quickly call him back, and he picks up the phone. He's like, hey, where were you? And I was like, well, I was at the church. I didn't hear my phone ring, and what's going on? And he's like, well, why didn't you pick up? And I said, well, I didn't hear it. What's going on? And he says, well, hey, I came across this amazing deal, and we can't pass it up. And I was like, okay, tell me more. And so he said, well, there's this old Corvette. I don't even know what year it was or what. Anyway, it was this old red Corvette. 81 Corvette. It was ugly. And he said, it's such a great deal. We have to get it. Now, he had good intentions because he wanted to flip it to make a profit for our family. He was the only one working at that time. I had just left my teaching career. And so I understand his great intentions, but I didn't think that was really a great investment at the time. And so I was like, yeah, no, I don't think so. And he's like, well, I couldn't get a hold of you, and I had to make the decision because it was such a great deal and I couldn't pass it up. So I went ahead and I purchased it. I took the money out of our savings and purchased it. And I was like, you did what?
It wasn't that nice.
No. And I was so upset at the time. I remember being so angry at you. Just hurt. Like, why would my husband do that without consulting me? It was a really expensive car. But it had, what was done was done. And so moving forward, he's like, we're going to sell it in a couple of days and make some profit, to put in our savings account. And I was like, okay. So I remember coming home that afternoon and seeing this thing in my driveway, and it made me even more mad. Then remember how he said it was going to be a quick flip, just a couple of days. 5 months later, 5 months later, it was still sitting in our driveway. And every single day that I left the house or came back, I got to see this Corvette in my driveway, and it would just remind me of, the hurt that I felt at the time. And I was just not really in a good place. It wasn't good for our marriage at that time.
It was rough.
So I will say, after 5 long months, it did end up selling. Didn't make much on it at all, but we definitely learned from that. And that was like the mile marker moment in our marriage that we decided, all right, have to put boundaries in place. Yeah. And so that was, why I wanted to tell you that story.
But thank God for his grace.
Absolutely. And we can laugh about it now because we learned so much from it. So why do we need boundaries?
Yeah, so we need boundaries to protect what we value. Obviously, we're married, we love each other, and we have to protect it. And then we need God's help in those times. So one thing we do is we do date night, something we've learned to really enjoy.
Every Friday night.
We value that time together. and we make it a priority, which has been really nice. It's been challenging with day-to-day life, but we love the uninterrupted time together every Friday night, so we look forward to it. It's like my favorite day ever, right?
Me too.
Used to be Saturdays. Fridays are awesome.
Yeah.
But we have to be intentional, and it's a time where we can value each other and just spend uninterrupted time, no technology.
But right away, we had to put boundaries in place on that. Just like on our date night, boundaries.
Right. We also had to put time or boundaries in time, being on time. You know, if I had an errand I had to do, make sure I'm back at the time we decide to gather.
Yeah.
Which was usually about 7 p.m.
Yeah. And so, like, we learned, again, it was a learning lesson the hard way. He was late a couple of times, and I was like, look, I'm not okay with that.
Thank God for grace.
Right away, we put that boundary in place, and it's been great because we know, you know, whatever it is, it's going to have to wait because this is our time together.
Yes, and most importantly, it's time together with each other and time with Jesus.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we said, you know, no technology during that, during those nights too. And so we kind of just put our phones away, and it's really great because it's quality time, and that's my love language, is quality time.
Yeah, and it's learned to be mine too, right? I love and cherish that time. And one thing you want to do if you value your marriage, like we said earlier, you need to make that boundary, put that in place, especially with your kids.
Oh yeah.
Talk to them. Just tell them, you know, mommy and daddy love each other, right? And you've got to tell them it's our time, it's our holy time to spend and enjoy each other. And God told us to live abundantly and be fruitful. And most importantly, multiply.
And I think, I think it also is, you know, we're modeling that for our children as well. We're modeling, you know, what a healthy marriage looks like. You know, we value our time together. And so they're seeing, okay, this is what a healthy marriage is supposed to look like. Mommy and daddy are supposed to spend time with each other because mommy and daddy love each other.
Right. And it allows us time again to talk, to pray, and just enjoy each other. One thing we need to do is tell the kids to stay upstairs. Boundary, because they will try to interrupt you. You know, one thing I heard one time about kids is they want to possess your soul. They want to suck everything out of you. And they're such a blessing, but we have to again set those boundaries in place. And one thing you need to do is be in unity about this.
Yeah, and I will say, like, it was really difficult at first. You know, the kids were like, we have 2 little girls, and they were like, we're doing what? We're staying upstairs? Why? You're home. Why can't we come downstairs? And so we had to make sure that we were consistent with that. Like every Friday night, this is what we're doing, and it's the new norm, and they know exactly what to do. Yeah,
and tell them, you know, kids never mess up, right? They're always good, they're obedient, but you know, you got to tell them, look, don't hit each other, don't kill each other upstairs, and don't come down unless the house is on fire. Literally.
Absolutely. And they do pretty good with it now. I mean, it's been a while, but they do great with it. And so how do we set these boundaries? And so real quick, we're just going to go over just how we decided to set them together, and it worked really well. And I hope maybe it can work for you too. We, first of all, you have to do it together. This is not my list of boundaries. This is not Cody's list of boundaries. It's our boundaries together that we came up with and agreed upon, right? And so how do we do that? Well, first thing is we sat down and we had uninterrupted time. I think actually we probably did it on a date night, right? On a Friday night. While the girls were upstairs. And so we started talking about, well, what are some things that we're just not comfortable with that is happening, so we can put a boundary in place right away. I remember something that he had brought up. I'll just tell you really quick. It was whenever we were out to dinner, like my phone would ring and I would instantly pick it up. And he's like, I don't like it when you do that. And I didn't think anything of it. I was just like, well, what's the big deal? But you know, he came to me and he actually told me in a really nice way. And, you know, I was able to receive it because of the way that he was telling me. And he, you know, said it very nice. He was vulnerable. And he's like, look, I just don't feel like you value our time together whenever we're out together and you're picking up your phone.
Yeah, and tone of voice is very important too.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, if he was angry or, you know, yelling when he said it, then I probably would never receive that very well, and walls would have went up, and it would not have been a good night.
And I tried that, and it didn't work the other way.
Hey! No, it's not true. But I think we also have to let them explain how they're feeling. If he was uncomfortable with that, you know, just sitting and letting him explain before I jump in and say something. You know, the Bible tells us we have to be quick to listen and slow to speak. And so we have to do just that. We have to be quick to listen to what our spouse is telling us, and slow to speak. Don't right away start with a defense mode, right? We want to make sure that we're really listening to our spouse. Right. Another way that we set boundaries is, I remember we made a list of all the things that were important to us, and on top of the list was our marriage. That's the biggest priority between us right now, and so, as it should be, right? That's what God wants it to be. And so we said, well, we want to invest in us, and so how are we going to make that a priority? And we started putting boundaries in place there. And, you know, like Cody said, one of them was date night. We have several others, but date night was one of them that we're not going to ease up on. That's something that we will continue to do, and it's been really great for us.
It's our plan, and we're sticking to it.
That's right. Another one is getting the word into our girls. And so we have a weekly night on our calendar that we write in. It's devotion night for our kids, and it's been really great because we've seen so much fruit from that. It's such a great time as a family together too, just to have those conversations with our girls and to listen to them, and to hear them pray. I mean, it's just been so amazing. They're 7 and 11 years old, and just to hear the things that are coming out of their mouth, it's been such a sweet time.
And that takes time. At first it was challenging. They would complain, but then they started to get the word and they would soak it up.
Yeah.
And then we started seeing just a change of heart and attitude, and there's no apathy.
And they started feeling more comfortable talking with us too, which is what every parent wants. You want your children to be able to talk with you about anything. And so that was great too. Something else that was super important to us was finances, as you heard with the Corvette story. Yeah. So we definitely put some boundaries in place there. Enough said there. Work is also important to us. And so, we do work together. We work together from home. And so that can be hard when you're working from home too, because, sometimes work will not end if you don't let it. So you have to make sure that you're putting boundaries in place there. Like, we will stop at this time, and we will have our family time. And so we made sure that, because I was kind of a workaholic when we first started working from home, but things are different now. And then also putting boundaries, something else that was important to us was friends. And so we had to make sure that we were putting boundaries in place there. Right. Community is so important. And, Jesus was all about relationships, as should we be. And so we want to make sure that we're in community with the right people. We want to make sure we're surrounded with the right people. Right. And so we had to put boundaries in place there too.
Yeah. And we just talked about that just recently. And so just look for those, video clips that we're editing and putting on the website.
Oh yeah, we just did a conference about that. It was really good, and so I hope that you can see it soon. Right. And again, this is about healthy boundaries, and we hope that it helps you in some way, that you can find something out of this to help your marriage. Again, we're Cody and Sophia Marshall, and thanks for listening.
And remember, be honest and open with your heart and with each other.
Yes, absolutely. All right, bye guys.
Bye guys.